Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Ajam Nirvikalpam Nirakaramekam Niranandam Anandam Advaita Purnam Param Nirgunam Nirvishesham Niriham Parabrahma Rupam Ganesham Bhajema. Team Param Vedanta extends a warm welcome to the 37th session of Bhagavad Gita, verse by verse. A very good evening to all of you who have been with us on this spiritual sojourn. We started chapter 6 in the last class. The chapter began with the glorification of a householder. Indirectly, Krishna is glorifying Karma Yoga and in turn Samatvam. The one who has renounced Sankalpaha, he calls the Karma Yogi as the true meditator. How Krishna describes the discipline to be observed in order to enjoy a mind conducive to meditation, which are called Samanya Sadhanani or Bahiranga Sadhanani, will be discussed today in the next 8 verses, beginning from verse 6 to 13. Our team of speakers comprise Dr. Ahalya, Dr. Bhaskar, Srimati Lakshmi, Dr. Sachin, and Dr. Ashwini. As always, our revered teacher, Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir, will enrich the presentations with his valuable insights. Kumari Manvi will chant these shlokas for us. Listening to these shlokas after their meanings are known is an experience to cherish. Before we begin today's verse, we have Dr. Komal doing a recap of the 5 verses covered in the previous session. Dear friends, let's get ready to soak ourselves in the dhyana of our inner Krishna as enumerated by Krishna himself. Over to you, Dr. Komal sir.
Thank you. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Last session, we entered the 6th chapter of the Gita, which is titled Dhyana Yoga or Atma Samyama Yoga. And both the words Dhyanam and Atma Samyama means the same, that is meditation. The 6th chapter is going to comprehensively deal with an important spiritual sadhana, Dhyanam or meditation. First of all, we should be very clear with general misconception about meditation, what meditation is not about. Meditation is not a means of liberation. We should not prescribe meditation as for the sake of moksha, because according to Upanishad teaching, liberation is not a goal to be accomplished. It is a siddha vastu, not a sadhyam. And since moksha is already an accomplished fact, it's only a matter of owning up or knowing. Therefore, Upanishads clearly say that knowledge alone is the means of liberation. Meditation is not prescribed for knowledge also, because meditation is not considered as a means of knowledge. Third thing we have to notice, for a spiritual seeker, meditation is not prescribed even for any extraordinary experience or mystic experiences. It is not for getting superpowers and definitely not for experiencing Brahman, because it can't be a finite experience. In the next slide, we see the curriculum of spiritual journey. It goes from Upasana to Jnana Yoga to Nididhyasana. Upasana prepares the mind. Jnana Yoga gives knowledge. Then Nididhyasanam, that is the meditation after Jnanam, is meant for the assimilation of Jnanam. So Upasana is meditation, the first type of meditation, to purify mind. Study of scriptures to attain knowledge, and then after study of scriptures comes meditation number 2, to experience not Brahman, but to experience the benefit of knowledge, which is nothing but peace and happiness. First meditation is called Upasanam, and the second meditation is called Nididhyasanam. And in 6th chapter of Gita, the focus is on Nididhyasana, which Swami Paramarthananda translates as Vedantic meditation. So 6th chapter is Nididhyasana Yoga or Vedantic meditation. The entire 6th chapter is divided into 5 main topics about meditation. What are the general preparations? What are the specific preparations? What is the process of meditation? What are the benefits of meditation? And finally, what are the obstacles and how to remove that? Just before meditation, there are disciplines to be observed throughout our day-to-day transactions. It's called Samanya Sadhanani or Bahiranga Sadhanani. That's general discipline, which is touched upon in the initial verses. He who performs the action to be done without expecting the result of action is a sannyasi. Karma yogi is one who considers spiritual growth as the priority in life If he is given a choice between spiritual growth and material benefit, he will definitely choose only spiritual growth. For him, entertainment, wealth is also there. It is required, but they're not primary for a karma yogi. He is not agitated about past experience because of whether acquiring or losing wealth or the experience of entertainment. He's not anxious about the future also. His mind is fully available for the present task. Because whatever action he performs, he is offering to the Lord. So thus a karma yogi is a renunciate, is a meditator. So he says if something happens, disturbances in life, initially he may say what, but soon after he says, so what? That is samatvam. Karma yogi grihastha is a renouncer because he has renounced his concern for future. Krishna talks about karma yoga as a method of maintaining the tranquility of mind. 6th chapter begins with glorification of householder. What type of householder? Karma yogi householder. And by way of glorifying a householder, indirectly, Krishna is glorifying karma yoga. And by way of glorifying karma yoga, Krishna is glorifying samatvam. So grihastha glorification is equal to karma yoga glorification. That is samatvam glorification. If a person has to become karma yogi, he has to necessarily renounce sankalpa. So that is obsession with future. As just like a pole vaulter who uses the pole till he reaches the necessary height. Later what he does, he drops the pole as he crosses over to the next level. Pole is like karma yoga. Once you have accomplished the height, detach from karma. You must detach. Otherwise it would be impossible to cross over successfully. Therefore Krishna says, Indriyarteshu na anusajjate. Not craving after sense pleasure, not holding on to that. It's like after you clear the college, you'll have to come out of it because you are interested in getting high score year after year. You can't just stay in the college. You'll have to come out to experience life. Then in fifth verse, Krishna gets into very important topic of fate and free will. Our future is neither totally controlled by fate nor it is totally controlled by free will. It's going to be a resultant of fate and free will. That's why moksha is a purushartha. It has to be chosen using our free will and accomplished by me. That's why Vivekananda says, he defines astika as one who believes in himself or herself. Faith in God is next stage. Faith in Guru is next. Faith in Shastra is next. All these three faiths are valid and useful only if I have faith in myself. Therefore, Arjuna, take charge of your life. And once we have decided to take charge of life, what is the first step? First step is to refine my own instruments. And what's the instrument? Atma here means mind, body, our mind, our own mind. We have to refine our instrument. I cannot have another set of equipments as this person who is sculpting himself out of himself. Uddaret Atmana Atmanam. One should uplift oneself by oneself. One should not lower oneself. For that, self alone, for the self alone is the friend, and self alone is the enemy of oneself. So you are your friend, you are your enemy. Atmaiva heyang atmano bandhu. Atmaiva ripur atmanaha. When you are a friend, you can make the whole world friendly to you. When you are your own enemy, you will convert the whole world inimical to you. It all depends on our approach. Therefore, Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Komal, for giving us a nice recap of the last class, which was the first class of the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And in the process, you gave us a nice introduction to meditation. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. In the beginning of the last class, which was explained once again by Komal today, I began by saying what meditation is not meant for. Unless we are clear about what meditation is meant for and what meditation is not meant for, we can spend a long time in meditation, but not really getting anywhere. Once I shared this in the last class, I had a lot of feedback by people who had contrary views and sent me a lot of literature to say why what I said was not right. I'm not seeing the slide that I wanted. Anyway, the first thing that meditation is not meant for is meditation is not meant for moksha. Why meditation is not meant for moksha, as it is given in this example? There is really no example that can be given, but still I will give you an example. Sometimes you see a person wearing the glasses just above the eye. The glasses is on the person, but the person is desperately searching for the glasses. Now, it is said moksha is something like this. It is something that we already have. It is not something that has to be attained because it is already there in us. And I cannot give you a better example because it is our own very nature. Now, but the person is desperately looking, and the more the person is looking, the more the person will not find because the glasses are already there in that person. All that person needs is jnanam, is the knowledge that the glasses are already there, and what you need to do is put it in a correct way so that you can use the glasses. That is exactly where the role of a guru. A guru is one who gives us jnanam and tells us how to use this in a certain way so that you can have the benefit of jnana. Now, if meditation is not a means for jnanam either, for instance, if I want to know how to treat a particular disease, I have to look for the source of knowledge, either through some literature available, that means through certain information where I can get knowledge. If I sit into meditation, I can meditate for any amount of time, but meditation is not going to give knowledge. So the first two things is meditation is not a means for moksha. Meditation is not a means for jnanam. Also said, meditation should not be used for extraordinary experiences, although those who dwell a lot into meditation can get extraordinary experiences which they might want and crave for. This is called rasaswada. It is a kind of addiction that we may get into. Meditation is not for that. As Brahman is the very subject, there is no way meditation can be a means to experience, because you can experience only something that is outside of you. There is no way you can experience Brahman. Brahman is not an object to be experienced. In that way, you may experience a lot of Ananda, you may experience Brahmananda, but that is not the experience. That is not a means to experience Brahman. You may get spiritual extraordinary powers. Again, it is said that the whole spiritual practice, we have to be on the alert so that we will discard all these things. We are not looking for any siddhis. As explained, what am I really working for? One is, before spiritual knowledge, it is to train the mind. The mind is mana eva manushyanam karana bandha moksha. If I want to achieve anything in my life, the greatest instrument available is my mind. If I want to achieve moksha, I need to be able to train my mind so that I'm able to receive knowledge. To receive knowledge from the teacher, I need a certain amount of jnana yogyata. And through mantra parayanam, through mantra japa, it is possible to have a greater control on my mind so that my mind is available for me as long as I want. And that comes through upasana. Once I get this knowledge, once I know I am that, aham brahma asmi. Now, this, even though I have the knowledge, it may not make a difference to me because it has not been internalized into every part of me. That is where Vedantic meditation, what we are going to study in this chapter, the 6th chapter, is meant for, so that although the sweetener is in me, it has to be stirred into every part. And that process of stirring that knowledge into action is the process of nididhyasana. Gautama Buddha had said, we are shaped by our thoughts. If I think I am bound, I am bound. If I think I am free, I can work for my freedom. And therefore, my thoughts, my basic thoughts, when I'm by myself, what is my self-talk? Now, this is very important. Can meditation help me to change my self-talk? Of course, meditation, as I said, cannot help you, but through Jnanam, we can bring in powerful thoughts, and meditation can help us to internalize our basic thoughts. Now, this is a nice input from Gautama Buddha, who says, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. And therefore, through a process of Jnanam, if I'm able to change my thoughts from a limited being to the unlimited Brahman, that is where Jnanam brings about the change of thought. I am Atma Brahma. This is what the teacher says, Aham Brahmasmi. And through Nididhyasanam, I'm able to internalize this thought. I will conclude my introduction by giving you 5 capsules of Vedanta for meditation given by Swamiji. The first one is, I am of the nature of eternal, all-pervading consciousness. This body-mind, I tend to identify, is only an instrument through which I manifest, but my real nature is, I am Nityaha, Shuddhaha, Buddhaha, Muktaha, Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivaswarupaha. Once a teacher gives me this knowledge, now this has to be internalized. This is where through Nididhyasanam, I go on repeating these until it becomes a part of me. Second, an important understanding is, I am the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness. Anything else in the objective world is finite and temporary and is dukkha mishratam, atripti karatvam, and bandhakartvam. The real source of peace, security, and happiness is my own self, my true nature. And through the mere presence of this consciousness in me, or that which is me, I give life to this material body. And through this instrument of this material body, I'm able to experience the material universe. Fourth, and this is critical for freedom, for moksha. And this understanding I need to internalize in meditation. And that is, I am not affected by anything that happens in the material world or the material body. Normally, I tend to get very much affected, but this understanding should be there that this material world and the material body are all anatma. I, the Atma, am the illuminator of all these things. And if anything that happens to the world around me or even my body, it is like images on a screen. If there is fire, the screen does not get burnt. If there is an image of water on the screen does not get wet. I am of a higher order of reality. And anything that happens in the material world or the material body cannot affect me as long as I identify with the Atma, which is of the nature of, my true nature is asangoham, asangoham, asangoham punah punaha, Satchitananda Rupoham. That is my true nature. And then what is it? In conclusion, by forgetting my nature, I convert my life into a struggle, a samsara. But if I remember this, that is the whole purpose of the 6th chapter. I need to remember this all the time. I convert my life into a sport, into a lila, and that paves the way to moksha. The opening verse for today's class will be the 6th verse, will be explained to us by Dr. Ahalya. Over to you, Dr. Ahalya.
Thank you, sir. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. The 6th verse is a good sandwich between the 5th verse and the 7th verse. We just heard the recap. Continuing from there, men are not prisoners of fate, but only prisoners of their own minds, said Roosevelt. Ekameva charet dharmam nasti dharme sahayata. Mahabharata says this. When in the path of dharma, you must be prepared to walk alone. That is, you become your strength, which Tagore said in his famous poem, Ekla Chalore. DVG also echoes the same in his Kagga as, ಓರ್ವನೇ ನಿಲುವೆ ನೀನುತ್ಕಟ ಕ್ಷಣಗಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಜೀವ ಸಮರದಲ್ಲಿ, ಧರ್ಮ ಸಂಕಟದಲ್ಲಿ, ನಿರ್ವಾಣ ಹಾದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ, ನಿರ್ಯಾಣ ಘಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ, ನಿರ್ಮಿತ್ರ ನಿರಲು ಕಲಿ ಮಂಕುತಿಮ್ಮ. The word nirmitra is that do not look for friends outside of yourself. Find it inside. That is, be prepared to be your best friend or your bitter enemy. You decide. And that is what Krishna is telling Arjuna as a matter of continuation of what is already told in the 5th verse of Uddharedatmanatmanam. The 6th verse goes so: Bandhuratma Atmanah tasya yenatmaivatmanajit anatmanastu shatrutve vartetatmaiva shatruvat. The word meaning Bandhuratma, the self is a friend, Atmanah, of oneself, tasya, for him, yena, by whom, Atmajit, the self is master, eva Atmana, by the very self, too, but vartate, would remain, shatrutve, in enmity, anatmanah, for whom or for him who has not mastered the self. The third value Krishna emphasizes in Bahiranga Sadhana is self-mastery or self-control. The word used here is Jita, that is Vashikrita, as the commentary says. Jitendriyatva is to master the senses, and it is not a suppression. Vedanta never advocates suppression, but advises mastery. Why do we need to master ourselves? Because body-mind senses complex is like a knife. It can perform good or bad, or positive or negative actions, depending on the owner of the instrument or depending on the way it is tuned. The play of words in this shloka is just too good. Atma Bandhu, where the body-mind sense complex is a friend, Atmanaha, to one, Atmajit, who is a master of himself, Anatmanastu, for an uncontrolled body-mind sense complex, it actually should be Ajitatma, as the commentary says. Anatma here is a peculiar usage. Atmaiva Shatruvat, his own self becomes his enemy. So the different usage of the word Atma can be actually found here. It's a common experience that we dissipate a large portion of our thought power and energy in combating people whom we perceive as enemies and potentially harmful to us. Shastra has reminded us often about the Arishat Varga inside us. The enemies are within, which is even more pernicious than the outer ones. So Krishna advises Arjuna to have self-mastery and become his own strength, his best friend. The next slide, sir. I am reminded of Rudyard Kipling's poem, If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowances for their doubting too, if all men count on you, but none too much, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. This is precisely what Krishna is advising all of us. So have faith in yourself, free will, and grace will follow. Fate will also be with this. So with these words, the 6th shloka talks about us being our best friends, us trying to have the right attitude in life. Namaste. Hari.
Thank you, Dr. Ahalya. That was a very nice explanation of the 6th verse, which is primarily talking about the mind as an instrument. The word Atma here means the mind, and the unusual word of Anatma here is meaning a person who has not conquered the mind, who has not mastered the mind. A person who has good control of his mind, and that is why Upasana is so important. Through various techniques of Upasana, I learn to have mastery over mind. My mind is available for me for as long as I want. Even as I'm speaking, if I can pay 100% attention to whatever I'm speaking, I am here. But it is possible that you are only physically here and the mind can be wandering anywhere. And that is where, through various techniques of meditation, we learn certain techniques of being able to master the mind. Only one who has mastery over the mind can have varying degrees of successes in the process of meditation. Otherwise, as you will see in subsequent verses, you may be sitting in meditation, but you will be doing everything else other than meditation. That is why my mind can be my friend, my mind can be my enemy, depending upon how skilled I am in the use of my mind. And that is why various techniques of mind mastery are so important. And that is what we will see through various processes of Upasana. The next verse will be explained to us by Dr. Bhaskar. Over to you, Dr. Bhaskar.
Om Gurubhyo Namaha. The verse goes like this. Jitatmanaha prashantasya paramatma samahitaha sito ushna sukha dukkeshu tata manapamanyaho. For one who has mastered himself and who is tranquil, the Supreme Atma is evident. He is the same in heat and cold, pain and pleasure, as well as in honor and dishonor. So here, Jitatma is the one with the instrument of intellect as self-mastery over body-mind sense complex, because of which the mind is prashanta, it is relaxed. It is also called Yoga Ruda Sadhana Chatusaya Sampanna. Such a person is ready for Vedantic inquiry. So, three types of intellects are described. One is Manda, Madhyama, and Uttama, who are compared to banana stem, charcoal, and camphor respectively. So if you light fire to banana stem, it will not catch fire in the first place, and it will put off the fire also. For a Madhyama, the intellect is compared to a charcoal, which slowly catches fire. Whereas a Uttama, the intellect is compared to a camphor, which catches fire immediately. So, three verses are taken from Kena Upanishad in the Swamiji's explanation. So, a Uttama student says, Na ham manye suvedate, no na vedate cha. That means there are two beings within oneself. The one knows and other knows not. The Atma and Paramatma within knows, but human mind does not know. So, knowing and not knowing are part of the same being. So, Sri Krishna says, for a prepared mind, Paramatma is very, very evident. For such a Uttama intellect, Mahavakya Shravanam Matrena Jnanam Bhavati. So, one more verse is taken from Kena Upanishad, Pratibodha Viditam Matam. Prati means every, Bodha means cognition, Viditam means known, Matam means meditation. That which is known as the very self of every cognition. How this is gained? It is gained by Matam means only through meditation. So once this understanding is clear, Jivan Mukti is the benefit. So Sri Krishna says, O Arjuna, you should develop Bhairanga Sadhanani, general preparations to be followed by a meditator, such as equanimity, self-confidence, self-effort, and self-mastery. With this, anything in life can be achieved, all the four Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, and be in charge of life. So, how to achieve this? What we are asked to do? So, here, Swamiji gives a beautiful example, two examples of light and light and hall. So, what is the important thing? What we have to do is, only we have to turn our attention by meditation from changing thought aspect of mind to changeless consciousness. So in the flow of thought, I'm conscious of first, second, and other thoughts. So the thoughts keeps on varying, but the consciousness does not. So in the light and hall example, the light pervades the hall. People come and go, but in and through the arrival and departure of the people, common factor is light. So which is the only principle ever available. So similarly, in the light and experience, we are not talking about experiencing a new thing, as light is all the time experienced. So similarly, Vedanta is not revealing a new Atma. So what is Vedanta here is switching our attention from changing thought to changeless consciousness. So how to do this? How to recognize? First step is, who am I? What do I have? So I am the body mind sense complex, and I have consciousness which illumines the thought. So that is our initial approach. Vedanta says reverse the approach. Train the mind to reverse the approach by meditation. So I claim I am the conscious principle. Body mind sense complex is an incidental instrument used by me. This is the most important shift. In fact, meditation for this practice only is practice. With a shift, what is my nature? So I am the consciousness. So the 5 points of which we have to remember about consciousness is not part, product, property of the body. Consciousness is distinct and pervades the body. Consciousness is not bound by dimensions of the body. Consciousness survives even after the body goes. Surviving consciousness cannot transact because the medium of transaction is not there. So extend this to death also. After death also, I don't transact, but non-transaction is not non-existence. Therefore, I even exist all the time. Transaction comes and goes. Transacting instrument comes and goes, but I, the consciousness, am eternally unaffected. This Atma Jnana, discovering the real I, Samahitaha. So Paramatma becomes very, very evident. As life is tormented by pairs of opposites, Sita Ushna, Sukha Dukkha, Mana Apamana, hot and cold, Sukha Dukkha, Mana and Apamana, only this Jnanam gives immunity against all pairs of opposite. Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Bhaskar, for a nice explanation. So if you look at this verse 7, Gitatmana Prashantasya Paramatma Samahitaha. Samahitaha means it is very easy to attain to. It is very easy to attain to Paramatma, to one who has had Jitatma, one who is able to have success over the mind. And for such a person, then he is not affected by hot, cold, praise or censure or whatever. The next verse or the next set of 2 verses will be explained to us by Lakshmi. Over to you, Lakshmi.
Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. The verse goes like this. Jnana Vijnana Truptatma Kutasto Vijitendriyaha Yukta Ityuchyate Yogi Samaloštashma Kanchanaha. Lord Krishna continues the explanation on the outlook of a realized meditator. In this verse, he speaks about such a person, how he responds to the objects. The disciplined person goes through 2 stages of self-knowledge. First stage is Jnanam. The second stage is Vijnanam. Jnanam is knowledge which is gained externally through the study of texts, but Vijnanam is the wisdom that comes only when the knowledge has been internalized and when we practice this in our life. Jnanam is that I am the body and I have consciousness. This is Paroksha Jnanam. Vijnanam is I am the conscious principle and body-mind complex is an incidental instrument used by me. This is Aparoksha Jnana. So when the shift takes place, that is identification from body to Atma, then the sense of limitation goes. This attitudinal change of identification is called Vijnana. Once the knowledge has translated into wisdom, we are not afraid of 3 basic problems. That is old age, disease, and death. We do not get affected by what happens to the body. Then that person is Vijitendriyaha, who has mastered body-mind complex. Then that person is Jnana Vijnana Trupta Atma. He is Kutastaha, which means he is unshaken by any event that happens in his life, as the future is very unpredictable. Such a person is Yukta Ityuchyate Yogi. He is a real yogi. What is the vision of this person towards object? For a Gnani, any favorable or unfavorable object does not cause attachment or aversion in him. This is because he is contented with himself. His nature happens to be full. He does not need any worldly objects to fulfill himself. He knows desire and hatred are components of sense organs. He has full control over his mind and senses. So he remains undisturbed. So what type of a mind he enjoys? Yogi samaloštashma kanchanaha. Samaha means equanimous. He has equanimous mind towards mud, stone, and gold. He knows that each of these has value in his life, but he does not give them undue importance. He has a rational and practical assessment of each object's value, but does not superimpose his values on them. He has learned to see the fundamental substance of whole creation. Everywhere he says Samam Darshanam, Samam Brahma, and Sama Atma. This Darshanam, this Samadarshanam is the change of perspective. Verse 9. Suhrun mitraryudasina madhyastha desha bandhushu sadhushvapi cha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. In the previous verse, Krishna says, Agnani has got samatvam with regard to Jada Prapancha, Achetana Prapancha. But Agnani has got samatvam with regard to Chetana Prapancha also, the living beings also. Equanimity with regard to human beings is very difficult because we have a lot of expectation from others. So easily we tend to develop raga, dvesha, or krodha. So Gnani has to overcome this Vishama Darshanam with regard to human beings. In this verse, he gives a list of wide range of human beings. Suhrud, Mitra, Ari, Udasina, Madhyastha, Dvesha, Bandhuhu, Sadhuhu, Papeshu. The meaning of all these words is given in the slide. What is Gnani's attitude towards all of them? Samabuddhir vishishyate. He has got samabuddhihi. He has equanimity. Whatever be the people around him, he remains equanimous. Swami Paramatmananda explains samatvam in two angles. One is philosophical angle. Gnani looks at the nature of everyone, which is Atma Swarupam. All the differences in the character belongs to Anatma, that is body-mind complex. But behind the body-mind complex, there is only one reality, which is God or Atma. According to Vedanta, there is no criminal in the world. No one is innately criminal. Everyone is innately lovable. But we all have unhealthy behavior caused by ignorance and error, which can be removed. This is due to ajnana or adhyasa. People have raga, dvesha, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, etc. But every criminal has this coating. So wrong action requires punishment and treatment. The treatment may be sama, dana, veda, or even danda. But Nani says everybody is beautiful Atma. Everybody is lovable. Nobody deserves hatred. He says criminal has to undergo punishment, but treat them with love, not hatred. This is the samatvam from the philosophical angle. Samatvam can be explained in another angle also. It is freedom from raga and dvesha, no attachment, no hatred. Suppose if we like a person or a watch, we feel comfortable when it is around us. Suppose if we hate a person, the absence of that person, we feel comfortable. But Gnani is beyond all this. Hence, sadhushvapicha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. Hari Om. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Lakshmi, for explanation of the last two verses, but somehow I could not coordinate with your slides, but you explained both these verses correctly. These two verses that Lakshmi just explained are speaking about the vision of a person who's got spiritual knowledge. Such a person who's got not only jnanam, but who's got vijnanam. That means that jnanam has now been internalized and has become tripta. Tripta means purna. He's become complete. He's described also as kutastha. Kutastha is like an anvil that does not undergo any change and consequently has got complete mastery over himself, as the word Vijitendriya. Now, these two are like a goalpost verses, giving us a vision of how such a person is. Remember, these are not commandments. It is not something that you should not distinguish between, sama, you should have a sama vision to loshta, amsha, or kanchana. See, normally we will differentiate. We will see there is a difference between mud, there is a difference between a stone, and there is a difference between kanchana. The Gita and Sri Krishna is not telling us, you should not make any differences. Sri Krishna is only saying, for a person who's got such a vision, whether you give him gold or you give him a piece of stone, he does not make such a difference because his vision is beyond all that. That is why in various pujas you have patram, pushpam, palam, toyam. It is not what you offer, but with what bhava that you offer. The word yoga or yogi comes many times in these verses. We have to have a certain understanding. Whenever we are talking in the chapters like 3, and we are talking about yoga as karma yogi. In the 5th chapter, the same yoga or yogi refers to a sannyasi. In the 6th chapter, whenever the word yoga is used, it means a person who is a meditator. After talking about a jnani's vision as equivalent, that means he does not put gold very high, he does not put mud too low, because he knows all of them are anatma. What is his vision to fellow human beings? There is a normal human tendency to say, he is my friend, he is my enemy. This person is good, this person is bad. This person is useful, this person is not useful. But a person who has a jnana, vijnana, triptartma, in this beautiful set of verses, he sees differences, but he does not make any differences, because now he does not want anything from anybody. Now, whenever I want something from somebody, I will see this person as useful or harmful. I will see him as beneficial to me or not. I will see him as a friend or enemy. And therefore, whenever I go beyond any wants from anybody, because I have discovered my true nature. That's why these are called goalpost verses. These are not they're not commands. Krishna is saying you must be like this, not at all. But he's saying a person with jnana, vijnana, triptartma, such a person, what kind of vision he will have. And let us seek to be blessed to have a vision like this. That means I do not say this man is a sadhu and very good, this man is a papi. He might have done something wrong. As Jesus has said, hate the sin, but not the sinner. The next 2 verses where we are coming to the actual process of meditation or the Antaranga Sadhana. Dr. Sachin, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The 6.10 verse. Yogi yunchit satatam atmanam rahasi stitaha ekaki yata chittatma nirashir aparigraha. Remaining alone in solitude with a restrained mind and the body without any desire and without any possession. A yogi should constantly engage in meditation. In the next slide, we understood Bahiranga Sadhanani as the Karma Yoga part. But from 10th verse to 15, Krishna describes Antaranga Sadhanani. Antaranga Sadhanani is done just before the meditation. It's not the meditation itself. It is an 8-fold discipline, which we'll see in the next slide. The 8-fold, out of which the first 4 is Deshaha, the place. Ekaki, you should do meditation alone. Kala is the Brahma Murta. And Sharira Stitaha, the posture. In the next slide, we'll see the next 4 disciplines, which are the next slide. We see Pranaha, that is the slow and steady breathing. Then Indriya Nigraha, the sense organs we have to take in control, which will bring the Mano Nigraha. And finally, we should have the Nishtha in your meditation. The two things which we'll see in the next slide are, which is mentioned in this verse, is Indriya Nigraha. Sensory restraint is the most important, as these 5 sense organs, the Shabdaha, Sparshaha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, are the gateway to our mind. They are the wide open door to the wide world outside. So control of these are so important. As in the next slide, we'll see, once we have mind sense control, then only we can think about mind control. The mind should be taken away from the mundane roles we play in our daily life, like playing a role of father, a mother, a child, or a friend. Just for that 15 minutes, you can tell your mind to leave all that to the Lord, and you concentrate on his higher self, your higher self, in some form or the other. Like you can start with the lower form, like a Shishya or a Bhakta, then graduate slowly to the higher form, that is a Guru. And finally, you reside in the highest self, that is the Lord himself. So in this next slide, we see that what the two things you have to lose is aparigraha, no possession at all. And you should be a nirashir, non-binding desires. This itself will make you from the ownership to a trusteeship. As we all know, yoga kshema plays a role in our life. Whole life, we have 2 worries. One is about the things which we have to get, that is the yoga. And after we get the things, the materialistic things, we have to maintain that. That is the kshema. So reduce both your yoga and kshema. In the next verse, 6.11, we see, Sucho deshe pratishtapya stiramasanamatmanaha natyurchittam nati nicham chailajina kushotaram. In a clean spot, one should firmly fix one's own seat, which consists of a cloth, a skin, and a kusha grass, one over the other, and which is neither too high nor too low. We'll see the next slide what does it mean really. Deshaha, the place of meditation. Meditate in a secluded place, away from the maddening crowd. Then only the crowd, the traffic in the mind will calm down. And what you meant by Suchi Desha, as we see in the next slide, Suchi Desha means the place should only be triggering your spiritual and religious thoughts. And how can you do that? By keeping different murtis or different wall hanging, which is about God, good leaders, spiritual leaders, and a place where you can actually feel energy. That is how we'll have Suchi Desha. And in the next slide, we see Ekaki. Joint meditation is not allowed. Otherwise, it will lead to only gossip and nothing more. It's a big no. Be with yourself alone, and that's what you meditate for, isn't it? To be Ekaki, the place which is spiritually clean, physically clean, secluded, without any other people around you. And the last about this shloka is the order of the seat. It should be first the kusha grass, that is the pointed long grass, which is denoting your concentration or energy fields during meditation. Then the deer skin, which is again a sacred skin. And finally, a clean cloth. So, and this asanam should not be too high, nati uchitam, or not too low, nati nicham. And it should belong to only one person. One person should have the particular asana. It should not be shared. And lastly, coming to the last slide is the stiram pratishtitam. The asana which you have should be fixed. It should be firmly anchored and it should not move. So here we have covered the desha and asanam part. In further verses, we'll see the other stages of preparation of meditation. Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Sachin. That was a nice explanation of the 2 verses of the Antaranga Sadhana, that is just before meditation. And if you look at this verse, this is one of the verses that Sri Adi Shankara will drive a point very strongly to say meditation And the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is meant for a sannyasi and not for a grihastha. For all of us grihasthas who have so many things to do, so many responsibilities, when we sit in meditation, it is so likely that all our schedules and whatever I'm to do next and whatever that is bothering me comes to my mind. And that is why it is extremely difficult for a grihastha unless you follow all these instructions. These instructions are for us to be a sannyasi or at least a mental sannyasi. The instructions being ekaki, you have to be alone, and then an yata chittatma, one whose mind is nirashi, has no binding desires. And another word which very strongly talks about sannyasis, aparigraha, one who does not possess anything. At least for us now, it should be a mental sannyasi. A yogi, that is a meditator, junjita, who joins when satatam, all the time. He joins to his higher nature, which is rahasi, which is the secret. The next verse is also about, as nicely explained, about the place and about the asana. It should not be too high, not too low, and it should not be neither too soft, not too hard. All very well explained in this particular verse by Dr. Sachin. The last verse for us, or the last set of 2 verses, will be explained by Dr. Ashwini. Over to you, Dr. Ashwini.
Thank you, sir. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Tatraikagram manah kritva yata chittendriya kriyaha upavishyasane yunjyat yogamatma vishuddhaye. Chittam means mind, indriyams are sense organs. Jnanendriyam, organ of knowledge, karmendriyam, organs of action. Kriyaha is their function and they should all be restrained. Simply, one should withdraw from all the activities. One should deliberately, consciously restrain mind and sense organs. We should all be strict and tell ourselves that this particular time I am giving appointment to myself, I am taking interest in myself, and therefore I withdraw from other activities. After having withdrawn the mind from the world, my aim should be directing my mind towards the chosen object of meditation. It is similar to building a dam to the river for conserving the water and storing it for irrigation purpose without getting it wasted from flowing into the ocean. Similarly, mind has tremendous energy which we tend to waste by worrying unnecessarily. Through meditation, stored mental energy can be directed towards a chosen thing. Therefore, Krishna says, Ekagram, by converging the mind through meditation, yogam yunjada, practice meditation. The purpose of meditation is Atma Vishuddhaye. Atma here is mind, Vishuddhi is purification. Krishna prescribes meditation for mind purification and not for self-realization. Meditation helps in removing the impurities of mind, which are malam and vikshepaha. Malam is unhealthy thinking, uncultured, unhealthy, indecent thoughts like raga, dvesha, kama, krodha, lobha, mada, matsarya. Vikshepaha is the restlessness of mind. After purifying the mind, one has to study scriptures for knowledge. Vedanta Shastra Vicharena Jnanotpattihi. Self-knowledge comes only through Brahma Vidya. Meditation before scriptural study is Upasana. Meditation after scriptural study is Nididhyasana. The meditation trains the mind to remove Deha Vasana or Viparyaya, which is the habit of identifying with the body. This process of removal of Deha Vasana through meditation leads to Atma Vishuddhi. Next slide, sir. Continuing with 6.13. Samam kaya shiro grivam dharayanna chalam sthiraha samprekshanasikagram swam dishashchanavalokayan. Sitting down is the ideal posture for meditation. Sitting down on the ground with folded legs by keeping knees apart. This posture gives balance as the area of the legs will be wider. Swamiji says, through sitting posture, though sitting posture is ideal, it is not compulsory. This is to encourage those who can't sit down on ground also to do meditation. Krishna details the specifics of ideal meditative posture. Upper body should be erect. Kaya shiro grivam. Kaya is the body from hips to neck. Griva is the neck. Shira is the head. These three should be in one straight line, perpendicular to the ground at 90 degrees. Samam kaya shiro grivam. This straightness is prescribed because it facilitates smooth and even breathing. All the animals are called triyak, horizontal beings, but humans are vertical, and it is important to keep our backbone straight while sitting, standing, and walking for good health. Then achalam sthiraha. Body should be firm and steady. This is Sharira Asana. With this posture, we have withdrawn the sense organs through mind control. Among the sense organs, Krishna gives special attention to eyes. Dishashchanavalokanam. Do not see here and there. This is to ensure we handle restless mind efficiently, and to contain our mind, Krishna says, Swam nasikagram samprekshya. Focus on one's own tip of the nose. Adi Shankaracharya says, by partially closing the eyes, one has to focus on the tip of the nose to hone the restless mind and sense organs. In the 5th chapter, Krishna also says, focus at the space between eyebrows. Chakshush chaivantare bhruvo. Here he says, focus on the area between two eyebrows. Swamiji says, this only means that Krishna is not very particular about where we look, but eyes should not distract us, and says we could even close eyes and focus on breathing. Prana vikshana, observing our breath. Pranayama is a regulation of breathing. Breathing during meditation should be slow, rhythmic, and even. With this, Krishna has covered Desha, Kala, Asana, Sharira Sthiti, Indriya Nigraha, and Prana Samyam. Mano Nigraha and Buddhi Nishchaya is elaborated in the subsequent verses. Hari Om.
Thank you, Dr. Ashwini. That was a very nice explanation let me go into this, the 12th verse. The key word here is Atma Vishuddhaye. Atma here again means the mind. Now remember, to meditate, I have to use my mind. And what are the impurities in my mind? The impurities in the mind that I have collected over the years in the form of various vasanas, various impressions that have happened in the mind. Now, whenever we are interacting in a day-to-day life, we have so much of distractions, we are not able to focus on some of those deeply imprinted hurts and wounds that have happened in the mind. The problem is, this is what Gaudapadacharya calls as kashaya. That means when you sit to meditate, one of the first things is like when the Milky Ocean was being churned, the hala, the poison came out, all those stored negativeness, the impurities all begin to come out. If you go to a meditation program, you will see sometimes when people go into deep meditation, they will have a lot of emotional problems, all the bottled up sorrow all comes. So unless we are able to vishuddhaye, we are able to clear our mind of all these things, and that requires not just spiritual help. That's where the guru also needs to be like a mother, needs to be a psychiatrist, likes to help you to get the Atma Vishuddhaye, only then, when we are able to get off all these negativeness, we are able to sit with your back upright, keep your eyes focused on the, so that we can actually start the process of meditation. So with this, we come to the end of today's class. And in the next class, we will come to the actual process of what is meditation, what is the object of meditation, and so on. We'll conclude this class by the chanting of these verses by another very young participant. That will be Manvi. Over to you, Manvi.
Harihi Om. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Bandhuratmatmanastasya Yenatmaivatmana jitaha Anatmanastu shatrutve Vartetatmaiva shatruvate Jitatmana prashantasya Paramatma samahitaha Shitoshna sukha dukkheshu Tatha manapamanayohu Gnana vignana truptatma Kutastho vijitendriyaha Yukta ityucchate yogi Samaloštashma kanchanaha Suhranmitraryudasina Madhyasthadveshya bandhushu Sadhushvapi cha papeshu Samabuddhirvishishyate Yogi yunjita satatam Atmanam rahasi sthitaha Ekakiyata chittatma Nirashira parigraha Shuchau deshe pratisthapya Sthiramasanamaatmanaha Natyuchritam natinicham Chailajina kushottaram Tatraikagram manah kritva Yatachittendriya kriyaha Upavishyasane yunjad Yogamatma vishuddhaye Samam kaya shirogrivam Dharayannachalam sthiraha Samprekshanasikaagram swam Dishashchanavalokayan Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Thank you, Manvi. The chanting was truly enchanting and very inspiring too. Catch them young and their adulthood becomes a blessed celebration. Thank you, Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir, for your insights. A big thank you to all the speakers for sharing your understanding of the verses. A powerful take-home message of today's learnings is what Krishna says, Jitatmanaha prashantasya paramatma samahitaha. For a person who has all the 4 disciplines, self-knowledge becomes a cakewalk, says Swamiji. Let's reiterate these 4 disciplines. Firstly, learning to maintain a balanced mind under all conditions, samatvam. Secondly, self-confidence or self-grace. We need Atma Krupa to even tap Guru's grace and God's grace. Thirdly, self-effort, no scope for being fatalistic. And fourth is self-mastery, body, mind, sense complex, being a perfect instrument of the self. We close each session to begin a new one. Let's submit a prayer to stay put in this Krishna consciousness till we re-energize ourselves in the next session on Friday, the 17th September 2021 at 6:45 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.